Hello, welcome to Kitchen Basics 101, where I teach you the bare bone basics as if you have never cooked a day in your life from the perspective of a mom. I've gotten this question a lot about broth, stock, bone broth. So I'm going to show you a simple base one here today, and then I'm going to talk about substitutions, things you could do to change it, other ways you can make it. Broth is super duper duper flexible, and it's really the intention would be to use up leftovers that you have. Starting there, I'm going to be using a leftover rotisserie chicken. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to do my aromatics right now. So I'm going to do onion, celery, carrots. But if you don't have one of these, don't worry about it. Or if you have some other veg that you want to get rid of and you want to throw in there, do that too. Now, some people leave the skin on the onion when they make broths and soups. I'm not going to do that for a couple of reasons. One, it doesn't really add much flavor. People say it does, but it really doesn't. It adds color mostly. And the other reason is that, you know what, let me cut this in half to make it easier to peel. There can sometimes be dirty things stuck underneath the skins. And just as I was telling you that, I went to peel this one and look. See, I don't want that in my broth, right? So that's one of the reasons that you're going to peel it. And I know there's people who leave the peel on, and that's fine. If you want to leave the peel on, leave the peel on. It's your kitchen, and you can do whatever makes you happy. You just throw all these veggies into your, I'm going to use a slow cooker or your stock pot. But I'm going to give them a little bit of a pan roast first because I just think that adds flavor. So again, you don't have to do that. I'm going to put it in a pan right now. I'm going to put it in big chunks. I'm going to put it in a pan right now and give it a little bit of a pan roast. You don't have to. Okay, you can just pop it right in to the slow cooker, and you'll see when we get to that step, and you don't have to pan roast it. I just want to add a little bit of crispy bits of flavor. Now, you don't have to peel your carrots. I did because I don't want that little bit of bitterness, even though there's lots of nutrients in the skin. If you don't peel them, then make sure that you wash them well, okay? Because everything we're extracting from this into our chicken stock, we're extracting that flavor and we're going to eat it. So we want to make sure we clean off the pesticides and the dirt or whatever. If you're not going to peel, definitely give it a little bit of a wash. Again, rough, big chop, doesn't matter. Don't even have to cut them up. Just makes it easier to pan roast them if you cut them up. You could literally make stock by just throwing everything you see me prep. You could just throw it all in the pot and turn it on, and you can make stock, okay? You can skip this step if you want to, but I'm going to give them a little bit of a pan roast. Now, if it was wintertime, I would probably do this in the oven. I would just pop this onto a sheet pan, little olive oil, little salt and pepper, and I would roast them in the oven for a couple of minutes just to give them some added flavor. But it's hot out, so I'm just going to give them a quick little roast here in a pan. Okay, so got them in my pan, a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper, and I'm going to put this on high heat and just get a little bit of a roast on them, and I'll be back to show you. All right, our veggies in the background sizzling away. This is a rotisserie chicken. You see we've been eating it. So this is leftovers, and I'm just going to, this is the one time you'll see me use gloves, because when you get this fattiness under your hands, man, it's a pain to get out. So I'm just going to pull the big hunks of meat off, and we don't eat dark meat. So I'm actually going to leave all the dark meat on the bone to use for our stock. But I'm just going to pull the white meat off that we might want to eat. So just the big hunks of it. So a lot of times people ask me the difference, stock, broth. Stock is usually made from meat, like the flesh. And broth or bone broth is made from the bones and the skin and maybe some of the meat. Just pulling it apart. The best thing about using a rotisserie chicken like this is there's so much great roasted flavor. All I'm doing right now is trying to take the string, the truss string that they use to hold the chicken together when they roast it off. Because I just splattered chicken guts on myself because I don't want this string to be inside my stock, okay? So I'm just detrussing the chicken. There's the string. I'm going to take that off. I'm not going to put it in the bottom of this pan because I'm going to use this. You'll see, this might gross out the vegetarians, but you'll see like this gelatinous, because this is cold, the chicken's cold, and we want that. That is so good for you. That's full of collagen. So I don't want to lose any of that. And there's a bunch of it in the bottom of this. So I'm just pulling off the bulk of the white meat. And I'm going to leave some behind to put into the stock, just to give it that little bit of extra flavor, okay? But I don't want too much of the skin, so you saw me pulling off some of the skin and putting it to the side. I don't want too much skin because that will make our stock greasy. We don't want it to be too greasy. So, or not our stock, stock, bone broth, I guess, because I'm going to simmer this for a long time. Okay, I have my crock pot next to me. You can totally use a pot on the stove if you don't want to use a crock pot. I'm going to use a crock pot because you can let it simmer all day long. Just breaking the chicken apart comes apart beautifully when it's a rotisserie chicken like this. And I'm just putting all of the parts into the crock pot. I am going to take off, the skin is great, but I don't want too much skin because it's a little overwhelming grease. So I'm taking some of the skin off and I'm leaving some of the skin on. Like I said, we don't eat dark meat, so I have all this beautiful meat on the legs and the thighs. All right, I'm just taking the skin off. See how easily it comes off. And the wings make incredible stock. So we're definitely going to put the wings in. I'm going to take these extra pieces of skin, this little piece of meat, out of the bottom of this tray. And then you can see all the collagen. I'm going to put water in this to put into my stock because I want to get all this collagen. Here's the carcass in the crock pot. Now I'm going to put some water. I never use water that I don't drink. So you guys know this. I have like a Berkey, so I'm using filtered water. I'm going to put it in here just so I can get all these little bits. Oh, I spilled a little. And I'm going to pour that and all of its goodness on top of the chicken here. I'm going to do it again. Look at my delicious roasty toasty veggies. I'm just adding them here to the pot. Okay, again, you could do this on the stovetop. I'm using the crock pot because it's easier. Let's hope it all fits. You just need enough water to cover, so it's overly full. I don't have enough, but I have a little fond left in this pan. So I'm gonna pour my water in here and scrape up a little bit on these crispy bits and see if I can get some of this flavor infused into my water before I add it. All these things are just little layers of flavor that are so easy to add, right? I don't have to get it all, but just a little bit of this. Look how the water is turning brown. That's flavor. We don't want it really to boil, but we have to get it cranking at first. So I'm going to turn my crock pot to high. I'm going to let it start to almost get to a boil to simmer, and then I'm going to turn it down to low, and I'm going to let it cook for like 1,000,000 hours, and I'll come check on it and I'll show you. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot seasonings. So I'm going to tuck a couple of bay leaves in here. You have fresh herbs. You could put rosemary. You could put thyme. I'm going to put some thyme because I love it. Put a little basil and a teaspoon of salt. And then I'm just going to, try to get that down into the broth. Could you use garlic? Could you use other seasonings? Could you use hot pepper? Yes. Put whatever are the flavors that you predominantly like, that you season your food with, put them into your stock. Get that next layer of flavor in there. Simmering here in the crock pot for literally like 10 hours. Just scooping out some of the bigger pieces right now before I dump all of this in the strainer. I would have showed you the scum that you peel off if there had been any, but because I did it low and slow in the crock pot, there was no scum to skim off the top. Well, look what we're left with. This just beautiful, incredible chicken broth, chicken stock that you can use for 1,000,000 recipes. Your pastina, you can freeze this into ice cubes, into plastic bags. You can put it in the fridge. It's gonna congeal a little bit because there's collagen and fat, but